Hello, everyone. And hello, Hockey World. It's Friday. We'll call it February 23rd, 2018.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Peter Tessier in
just stop
Winnipeg.
I'm Russ Cohen.
All right. Listen, not my fault the friggin' trade deadline and the Olympics are happening at the same time. I'm losing my mind. I'm so tired. I want to sleep so badly. I mean, I'm like, maybe ounce every, I really should hire somebody to just be like, like this is when you work for yourself, it's so easy to just sleep. And
it may be a little late in the game here, Eck, but here's a primer for the next couple days.
Yes?
Ignore the Olympics and
no, I'm done now.
On the trade deadline.
I'm done. No, believe me, that's what I'm doing anyway. But you can't help it. I just get sucked in, and it's like
Oh, you're not done American curling. You got to watch that.
I'm okay not watching.
It would be a first ever gold medal. You're really not going to watch. You're going to watch.
We're only going to devote a few minutes to this.
We're going to recreate it in shuffleboard outside later this afternoon, so we can do that.
We're only going to devote a few minutes to this because
I'm sorry, Peter.
This is
wow.
Sorry, my like normal filter is down a little bit. I gotta stop doing that. Right. Okay,
because I know everybody's interested in rumors.
I switched off my polite Canadian button. Hold on, time out. Okay, I'm better now.
Wow,
turned it back on. I'm good now. Yeah, I love curling. I do. I really do. It's my son's favorite sport in the Olympics. He's not an athlete, but it was still his favorite sport in the Olympics. Anyway. And I saw somebody get hurt in curling. I saw an injury happen earlier in the curling thing. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, somebody got hit in the stones.
No. Someone fell. Someone just on the floor. Whoa! I saw it happen. It was in the Olympics. Like that's got.
I'm sorry, Peter. It was hanging there.
That was just bad. There's no offense taken.
Curling,
bad.
Same way you sit on that ball, then it would be interesting because we never know when you're going to fall from that.
Yeah,
we still have that video, don't we?
We do. Yes.
Okay, let's just start with this. Canada. I'm sorry. I drove back from Toronto late last night, so I woke up about middle of the second period, and Germany had just scored and to make it 3-0. So that I thought I was dreaming or hallucinating or something because I couldn't believe that. And Canada came back in the third period and made a game of it, but Peter, I'm really stunned. I thought, there's a couple former NHLers on Germany. Marcel Gottsch, David Wolf played for Calgary for a little bit. Christian Ehrhoff is a pretty good defenseman, or was a pretty good defenseman. The talent level Canada compared to Germany I would say Canada was much more talented, but Germany showed up. And Canada,
they showed up. They played, they played a heavy game, and the Germans are actually a fairly big team.
Yeah.
You could sort of see they abuse Canada a little bit. I'll say this, and not having Scrivens in net probably had an effect on that game. And you put Scrivens in, I don't think Germany goes up 3-0. You can argue about the level of talent across all the teams all you want, but there are noticeably some players who are better than others on these teams. And Scrivens is one for Canada. It's unfortunate he wasn't in there. I think he would have made a difference, but all credit to the Germans. They played a very tactically sound game. The other thing in a lot of my feed, when sort of seeing some of the comments about this, a lot of Canucks fans had the knives out for Willie Desjardins again. And it was like deja vu for them all over again with some of his decisions and stuff. So make of it what you will. We all sort of felt that the Olympic athletes from Russia would be the team to beat, and they are. But I can get behind the Germans if they make a game of it. No hard feelings for that loss, and good luck to them.
You know what it is? What we're seeing is our countries, U.S., Canada, put teams together haphazardly because there's no NHLers. The other teams have guys that have played together, like in the World Championships. Germany's got 12, 13 guys that played together in the World Championships. These club teams, club guys,
right?
They're at least familiar with each other. We're putting together like not even all-star teams, but like these mishmash teams, right? And we're getting what we pay for, really.
Yeah, and I have to say, and people thought I was joking when I tweeted this morning, I believe that Marie-Philippe Poulin is a better player than Kevin Poulin because
Yeah, I can get behind
that. He was horrific. I mean, I didn't think that there was that much of a wide gulf between Ben Scrivens and Justin Peters, but there is, because I think he was exhibit A of why Canada lost this game. Second of all, I know that Gary Bettman was at some sort of media event in Massachusetts today with Jeff Vinnick, the owner of Tampa Bay, and Elliot Friedman. I think before he went on stage, he and Bill Daly were probably dancing a jig, because these Olympics turned out to be the absolute best for the NHL. The ratings were down 8%. The U.S., I think, chose a bad men's team. Hockey Canada, the Canadians didn't bring their best, and they'll at absolute best win bronze. He's got leverage going into 2022 now, and that's exactly what he wanted, because the IOC cannot be pleased with this mediocre Spengler Cup type of tournament that ended up being the Olympic.
And
I don't think they're going to say that at the conference they're at, though. I'm just saying.
No, I don't think so.
No, Bettman, I saw some tweets on this, and Bettman did make some points that were very convincing. I didn't see the points, but I saw feedback about it that said there isn't a lot of reason for the NHL to be there. And frankly, I don't care what anyone says about this, the holy grail market of China. There is no business case for the NHL to be in the Olympics for the NHL. There's none. And it doesn't matter about growing the game. This whole growing the game nonsense, you know where you grow the game? You grow the game in areas that you need more talent generation. And that's not happening in Korea. It's not happening in China. It's just not. And
but you know what the thing is, Peter? The game does grow. Like, it'll grow in Germany, whatever. Yeah. But it doesn't impact the NHL. It just impacts the game of hockey.
Yes.
The NHL is not the only game of hockey.
Exactly.
So the problem here is, the biggest problem that we always talk about is the disconnect between, hey, we've got these Olympic guys, we watch them. Now we need to get you to watch our league with a lot of those same guys when those guys are in the Olympics. That's something the NHL has been very unsuccessful with. Let's be fair.
The Olympics basically, I think, are, going forward, would be the cherry on top of the sundae to the rights holders. I mean, I'm sure NBC wanted the NHL there. I'm sure it would have improved their ratings. I'm sure CBC would have wanted the same thing, or TSN, or whoever in Canada. And it wasn't there. Now,
this gold medal game for the men's will get horrible ratings.
Yeah, nobody's gonna be watching. Nobody's gonna be watching Germany versus OAR in Canada. Nobody.
Exciting. I don't know.
I think no one will watch it in the same way, and no one is going to watch it in the same way we would have with NHL players.
Right.
So that's the whole point. Is that if the NHL doesn't need more talent development for it, there's not enough jobs. The growing the game of hockey is just. It's good for the game of hockey, as Russ said, but the NHL doesn't need to shut its league down for 2 weeks. It doesn't need to condense schedules, make life miserable for all the teams that have maybe no players going, or just a few. Like, there's no reason to do it. And all of a sudden, the revenue that comes from China, and this holy grail of China that people talk about, what you have to do first is look at the Premier League in England and how they have marketed to China and what they do. That's where the money is. It's sponsorship dollars. It's making the Chinese businesses and communities aware of an advertising opportunity with the NHL.
But I also think, Peter,
you don't need the NHL in China to do it.
No, but I also think that the whole thing about 2022 is getting the IOC to bow down a little bit, like they do for the NBA, to get the NBA players in the Olympics. The NHL is just looking for equal consideration. They're looking to be able to use. Like, how many times have you seen Sidney Crosby's golden goal? You can't, because the NHL can't promote it. The Olympics own the rights to the video, so you don't see it. Whereas I'm sure you'd probably see it every 5 seconds and be sickened of it if you're an American. But
I was just going to say, on that note, and you talked about the idea of what the rights holders like NBC, and I know CBC's paid for a little while. I can't remember what their contract is, but they did a big bid on it, and then they sort of cost share it out to Sportsnet and TSN here. But if you're NBC and you're bidding again, what do you think your bid changes? What do you think the bid changes if you don't have athletes in the NHL in?
Right.
You're going to have a different type of bid, and that's where the IOC has to see the dollars come in. It's like, okay, I'm dropping $100 million because I don't have pros in.
And I was talking to Russ earlier. I mean, I think that the ratings decline would have been mitigated had Canada and the U.S. brought the best possible teams that they could have. I think that, maybe Canada got closer to that, but they brought middling teams. And that's, I think that, the NHL is happy about that. So now I think they have more, like I said, they have more leverage going into China in 2022 to get the IOC to give them something more to, and I think that they'll end up being there. But yeah, in the end, this is a success for the NHL.
I don't think the Penguins are making a play for Eric O'Dell here. Come on, he's a big time center
right now. Look,
78% of his faceoffs.
Maybe to run their website.
No.
X not going to like me, but right now, the men's Olympic hockey will make a great propaganda video for Russia or the OAR or whatever you want to call them. That's what the whole goal of this has been, and they have succeeded.
Yep, they're going to use it for Putin's re-election campaign.
I mean, there is a benefit to the NHL that I think people are missing, and that is the fact that this is like the biggest thing that's ever happened to the German hockey world, like to the German hockey.
Yes, it's great for the DEL and stuff, but that's not going to help the NHL.
Yeah,
no, I think it does because this means more people playing hockey, more kids playing hockey, this increases hockey, and that in turn gives you a chance of getting a couple more.
So great.
That'll take 10 years, 20 years.
I was going to say great. In 2038, we'll have Yui
Miracle. This is Miracle on Ice worthy type stuff. This is serious.
Right.
All right. Imagine how grumpy Mike's going to be in 2038. Seriously.
No, I know it's not going to. None of us are going to.
Don't worry, I'll be dead by then.
No, but I'm just saying. Anyway, let's move on to
put the death clock up there for 2038.
First, we had some YouTube. We were taken out on YouTube yesterday a little bit by some Coyotes fans, which I was kind of happy about. So I wanted to get to their questions so we can respond to them because we went a little bit hard on the Coyotes yesterday. So
deservedly so.
In the fans' interest, by the way, I think we represented the fans' best interest for that.
And if it's a quote, I think if it's the quote that I think you're going to bring up, I think that the person is wrong because. But
let's get to the quote first, and then we'll decide.
So Chris sounds like a tribunal now.
There's two, and they're both Coyotes fans, which is wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you for watching. So first, Chris Dyson. These guys have no idea what's going on with the Yotes, which is true. We said that yesterday.
Right. We fully admit that.
We agree with that.
Neither do the Yotes, though.
In all seriousness, Ranta is a starter and Kemper is a backup. Ryder has a bleep agent and is an RFA, and he's not worth it.
No. Okay. You're not. First of all, we were criticizing the deal, and if he taking into consideration what this person just said, think about that. You traded a very good young forward with a lot of speed, with a lot of talent, and a goalie who was just placed on waivers this morning for a backup goaltender.
Right.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Cameron Paul also wanted to chime in. So Coyotes fan here, he gets a little bit more in depth. Not sure what all this hate for the trade is about. There is no question that Ryder has speed, although he seems to have lost a step with his past injury. However, he doesn't provide much outside of the PK. He's almost good for a breakaway game, but he has no hands whatsoever and can't finish for the life of him. He also provides almost zero grit to the lineup. His play was so inconsistent this season that he was a healthy scratch one only a week ago. Also, Ryder has a terrible agent. Ryder wanted Kadri money last time he negotiated. They avoided this headache when it came to negotiations by letting Ryder go. When it comes to Antti Raanta, it seems like you have not paid much attention to the Coyotes this season. If Raanta had not been injured the multiple times he has, the season could have looked a lot different for Arizona. With Raanta out,
that's a little bit of a reach, but okay.
Yeah.
With Raanta at the beginning of the season, we were stuck with the AHL goalie in Louis Dominique to carry the load. Besides Clayton Keller, Raanta has been our best player by far. His stats on a poor team like the Coyotes is all the proof you need. When it comes to Kemper, he's capable of being a solid backup. Expecting anything more would be foolish of the Coyotes. Best case scenario for the future going forward would be a 65-35 split for Raanta and Kemper. I'm happy if they can manage to re-sign Raanta for at least a couple years in the 4 to 4.5.
Well, now, okay. So here's the leap of faith for me. So I do appreciate the feedback.
Yeah.
This person is already assuming Ranta's coming back, which again,
right.
Don't take that to the bank, because I think that's why Kempner was signed to a 2-year deal in case they lose Raanta, because there's a very good chance Antti Raanta is not coming back. Let's start.
I know this person made some great points and points I really didn't know. I didn't know everything about Ryder as much as I should, because
and I agree with you. I didn't know about some of those.
I would agree with Russ on this as well, because I'll say this, that I do not think that, that if you're the Coyotes right now, you should be trading for a backup goalie. That you're not. This is not a team that's in position to say we got to solidify our backup goalie.
Right.
What Russ said is the right thing to do. Russ said they're getting him as insurance because they don't know what's going to happen with Raanta. Or if they can get a first-round draft pick for Raanta, they will move him.
Well, and it's not exactly a good thing to if the person who wrote the comments is right, that essentially the Coyotes are trading an asset in their organization because A, he held out, and B, they don't like his agent. That's sort of childish.
Okay, but that does happen.
It does happen, but it's childish.
I'm going to get the other side to that.
Rich Winter. It's taken a while.
I've spoken to Rich Winter recently. I don't think he's a bad guy, actually.
Let me throw this. But I don't want to disrespect Rich. Rich Winter is somebody that we need more in the sport of hockey.
I agree.
He has interesting ideas.
No, we need less of Alan Walsh.
He helps the business side a lot. He does.
Oh yeah, and he is a very, very interesting person to talk to. You're absolutely right.
Getting past that, okay. Here's the other part of it with Tobias Ryder. We said the same thing about Michael Grabner 2 years ago. Yeah. Under the right tutelage, right coaching, right players, which I think the Kings think they are, that breakaway once a game could turn into a goal once every couple games.
Right.
And they will definitely get him to be less soft than what he was deemed to be in Phoenix. Now, of course, if you're even slightly soft, Rick Tocchet doesn't want you. That's why he loves Zach Ronaldo. I get that.
And Tocchet has started. I mean, he's done some good things lately. He's started to turn around.
He has done some good things lately. But I'm just saying this was an asset to let go for if you really let him go for a backup goalie, that's even worse.
You're right, Russ. And this is what I wanted to end with. If Ryder's not that good, if what the reader is saying is true, Ryder's not that great, he's a penalty killer or whatever. The rest of the league doesn't know that either. We don't know that. Right. The rest of the league doesn't know that. So that means he's worth more than Darcy Kemper. And so get more for him. Go out there and move him along for sure, but get more for him than Darcy Kemper.
Wait a sec.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
The rest of so he's better than a penalty killer. That's what the question is saying. He's
basically saying he's only really going to the penalty kill. He can't finish, and he's got he's got good. But he's lost acceptance, was hurt, basically.
Okay, so that sort of supports a little bit of the idea that maybe it's not such a bad trade,
right?
Which is
but the idea that the rest of the league doesn't know that is probably I can't go that far, because there's too many scouts, there's too much sharing of information, there's too much data available on this stuff.
You would think so, and I agree with you to a degree, Peter. And I do think that you're rather right. There are scouts who know this for sure, and there are people, but there also are not many people tracking Arizona, and there are limited abilities to track teams. Right, Arizona is a team that people haven't tracked for a while because they haven't been. You talk to a scout, they're not going to tell you that they have notes and notes and notes on Arizona.
Well, take into consideration that this is an absolutely soft goaltending market where a quasi starter gets a conditional 3 and 4, and Arizona goes out. And if this is truly them trading for a backup goaltender, they gave a top 9 forward. That's where this trade is whack. It's completely whack.
Let me give you a scenario for the Coyotes fans out there. So we get to the offseason. Raanta doesn't get traded. The Islanders come a-calling. They get rid of Halak. We want Antti Raanta in New York. They're going to outbid Phoenix every time. Most teams are going to outbid Phoenix. So it is not I think it's only about a 30-40% chance that Raanta even comes back. So that's why Kempner got signed to a 2-year deal, in my opinion.
And this is a guy who willingly left a backup position with the Rangers. Okay, so you're not going to go to a backup position in Arizona.
He was traded. He didn't have any say so in it.
He was traded, but still,
at the same time, he did. I mean, in terms of what the attitude he was putting forth in the New York,
he didn't give him a reason to keep him.
Right, and he wanted out. There was no question he wanted out. So.
Well, no, I think he played his way out. He played, he was more than just the typical backup, and I think he enticed.
Right. And that's part of it, right? And that's why he was really unhappy with the backup. That's why when he wasn't playing, he was upset about it. That leads into a situation you don't want to have around the team. It leads into the whole thing. So he's not one of these guys demanding a trade, but at the same time, that's going to happen, right? And
okay,
remember, Ronta was really upset about. I remember him always be in Philadelphia in the press box, and he was pissed off that he was there. No, it wasn't Philadelphia. Sorry, it was in the. I'm sorry, it was the Stanley Cup Finals, right? Remember?
Yes.
And Finland is playing in the World Championships, and he's like, I'd rather be playing in the World Championships than be.
Well, I also could tell you that Ronta was sulking at the Winter Classic when he wasn't starting, because I was talking to him about it, and he wasn't happy. So he does have this thing about wanting to play and wanting to play regularly, and if he doesn't, he'll deal with it, but it's not his number one choice.
Right. So they just put gauntlet down there.
But you know what? That's the quality I want in every player on my team.
Yeah.
That's a base quality.
I'm just saying that's what he is.
Well, it's in every quality except for the fact that you need your goalies to work together.
Let's talk about the grab.
Before we move on, Mike, let me just end this whole thing for one thought. Then that I really appreciate the comments, and we do appreciate the fact that
I do too.
That Arizona folks are watching the podcast, because it means a lot to us too. So keep watching, keep commenting, let us know what's going on, because like I say, any information that we can get from you guys, we're not paying that much attention right now. So there's tell us what we're doing wrong, and we'll tell you why you're wrong, but still tell us. Or we'll try. We'll listen. Okay, so Mike, go on.
We do listen.
We do.
No, the Grabner deal came down late last night, and I don't think I heard anybody, Drager, LeBrun, McKenzie, Friedman, anybody mention the New Jersey Devils in connection with Grabner.
It was late. It came in late.
And that was the general impression, was that they came in at the 11th hour. And now the thing is, they came in at the 11th hour. They got him for a second-round pick and a KHL prospect named Rykov, who I don't know a lot about. Yeah, and I mean, that's not an overwhelming price. But I do think, though, Grabner was at that second level. Kane and Nash and potentially Van Riemsdyk, if he becomes available, are at a higher level, and Grabner got a second. To me, that convinces me that those guys are going to get first-round picks in those deals. Maybe not Kane, because I think Kane still got that stink on him from Buffalo. And
I did want to mention Rykov for just a sec, because there's somewhere where there was a word going around that Rykov is a B+ prospect. He's not. Now, I'm not saying he's never going to make it to the NHL, but what I'm telling you is, he was on SKA. He wasn't, he's not a superstar on that team. He's got some points. My last notes on him were for the under-18s, so a couple of years ago, and he showed some offense. He showed some skating ability, but he hasn't put it together yet, right? And so people say, well, he's 20. He's a good prospect. Yes, he is 20. The KHL is not necessarily a developmental league. So that's something where, unless the Rangers get him over here within the next year or two, you may never see him. So this is just a guy that it looks good. It fills out the thing. Everybody reads off the memo. Yes, they got a player and a prospect, but it may never materialize into anything. And that's something that you have to look at realistically when you're the Ranger fan. But a second-round pick is good. Like, that's all you could hope for Michael Grabner.
I think if you take the prospect, the prospect side out of things, right? The market is for a Grabner style player, second-round pick. There's your baseline, right?
Yeah.
So we can work with that. So look at Maroon. Maroon's probably a second-round pick
plus
in the same way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a second plus, because he's bigger. And I think maybe
second plus.
Yeah. I think Grabner's a third-line guy. I think Maroon on the right team is a second-line guy.
Right. I think so. I think that. I mean, I was kind of surprised they got a second-round pick, to be honest, and more than a second-round pick. I mean, I thought it was a little bit, and I think that's because we were here, hearing third-round pick and a prospect, things like that, and I think that's why New Jersey got it. I think they jumped up, and I think that when the second-round pick happened, I think that was the Rangers calling. That's what they were.
Now, I don't know how much this helps Jersey. I mean, he's a quality player. He's a penalty killer. He's
a lot.
I think that's what I'm asking, because I don't know how much it helps them. I think it helps, but I don't know if it's
a very fast team.
I don't know if I'd want to take Jersey on in the first round.
No, I mean, no, they're already a very fast team. They already have a lot of speed. He does seem like the kind they are going to play him with Taylor Hall, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
That's going to be very fast.
Yeah, I mean, they're already.
That's a speed line now. I mean, that's something that's going to cause problems for opposing defenses. No question.
Young, fast team. I mean, this helps them. It's a great move, and it's nice to see New Jersey doing it. It's nice to see New Jersey going for it, because a lot of Devils fans out there. Got a friend coming tonight.
Well, they should. I mean, they're in a good position. It's a shame that, with Schneider, that's the one thing that sort of, helped them drop games. But
no, two little bits of news, then we can get into the rumors hot and heavy. One, Russ, you were at Columbus and Philly last night, 2-1 victory for the Flyers. Mrazek was his first start there, but you were saying regarding Columbus that, I mean, right now the signs with them, I saw them last week. They just don't have enough offense. I think you're basically confirming that with what you saw.
Yeah, I do want to also confirm. I was looking up Schneider. It still seems like he's a few days away. Anyhow, they need him back. Here's the point. The point that I got out of yesterday's game was Torts is still playing that same system he played with the Rangers. He is going to play it tooth and nail defensively right down to the end. He hopes you will make a mistake or two. That game had the lowest shot total that I've seen for a little while. It was 2 shots for Columbus in the first period. I think it ended up like 19-19 or something in that range. Yeah. I kind of gave up after that. They may have gotten a few more. But when the shot totals are low and you're matching a team defensively, and good for the Flyers to be able to match them defensively, that's something where a lot of people at the beginning of the year probably didn't think they can do. They were able to do that. Mm-hmm. Also, there's not a lot of offensive push on Columbus, let's be real. Other than Panarin, nobody was really standing out offensively, skating-wise. They looked completely lost on the power play. They couldn't even gain the zone. The Flyers were all on the red line and just took the puck away every time. Like, it was just bad. So, the end of the game, Torts interview, very cordial. Hey, it's 2-1. It's one of those games. Seth Jones, we got to take advantage of our opportunities. This sounds like the Rangers of a few years ago, and there's going to be a lot of 2-1 wins, a lot of 2-1 losses. But when you're down in the standings, I don't think playing this way is the way to get back into it. I don't.
And basically, he's doing what Bobrovsky, what Lindy Ruff did with Ryan Miller a few years back. He's going to play him to death down the stretch.
And Bob was good yesterday, really good.
Bob was really good in that game, and Patrick was a great goal. Jeez,
I have to worry about the Patrick thing. So Patrick is replacing Wayne Simmons in the middle on the top power play, something he hasn't done all year, and he's getting points for it. So for like the fans that were worried about, hey, can Nolan Patrick, some of it's opportunity. My worry is when you're putting in a guy that has a little bit of an injury history and not fully developed. Wayne Simmons is a fully developed guy. Nolan Patrick isn't.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder about the durability. Can he hold that up for 2 weeks?
You brought this up before, and I really liked it. It's a really interesting point, and I talked to somebody about this last night too, about it. And they said to me, they said, listen, you can look. Of course, you're worried about putting Patrick in front of the net. It makes sense that
he's got a couple goals there. I get it.
Going to get a beating, but they also feel like they've got to get Patrick past in his head that he's injury prone, and they kind of think that they want to see him get beat up a little bit. They want to see him get banged around, and because they think that if he does that, he'll be more likely to go to the dirty places to score. He'll be more likely to not think he's so frail, and his confidence will gain. Like when it's a very confident goal. The way it was described to me, and this is interesting, is it's a very confident goal to score a goal he scored last night. That gives a player a lot of confidence. Like you're in front of the net, people are battling you off. Goalie makes a save, you reach around because he has this really long reach. I mean, his reach is just ridiculous on that goal. That's what shows on that goal, right? So. And they like it because they said, listen, they feel like he's been too tentative, and because of his injury issues, they've got to see, and he's got to see that he can play in the NHL.
But for his sake, I wish he were stronger, because if this was a year down the line, I think it'd be perfect.
Yeah, and I do think that it is a little bit. It's rushed. It's not something they would have done if Simmons was there.
Correct.
So you can say they're rushing it for sure, but at the same time, I think they're looking at it like that. Now, whether that's a rationalization or whatever.
No, I think it's fair. It's totally fair.
Now the other news was, and I was up in Toronto at the Islanders Leafs game last night, and late in the third period, Austin Matthews got pancaked by Adam Pelech and Cal Clutterbuck. And after the game, Mike Babcock did not have any kind of information. Said that they were doing an examination this morning. Matthews had an MRI. He comes out and says that it's day-to-day, which for Babcock usually means 1 to 2 weeks. So if he had been out for a longer time frame, I think it would have altered what the Leafs were going to do at the deadline. I think it could have contributed. I still think there's a chance they trade JVR because Darren Drager said last night in an interview that he had talked to a couple NHL general managers, and the talk for Van Riemsdyk was he would be the top of this rental class in terms of what the Leafs could get back: a first-round pick, a top prospect, and something else. If Lou Lamoriello knows that, I think he might be swayed by that, because that's a pretty good haul for a guy who's going to walk away in July. But Matthews is okay, and he'll probably be back within 1 to 2 weeks.
But what's okay? Let's talk about okay for a minute, because you told me earlier he had a back injury.
Yeah.
Now you have a shoulder, which is connected to the back. I mean, all that's connected.
And he had a concussion, too.
So when he does come back, he's not going to be the same Austin Matthews that started the season. Odds are he's going to play the rest of the season banged up. He's going to rehab, and he's going to play banged up.
Right.
So you do have to look at it like they're not going to lose their playoff spot.
No.
At this point, I'm kind of like with Mike saying the odds of them now winning this first round of the playoffs has weakened.
Yes.
I should get those assets for JVR because there are teams out there. Look, you can make a trade. I said it in private earlier, but I'll say it on here. If I'm Jeff Gordon, I give a call to Lou and say, hey, you want to talk to Rick Nash's agent? I'll trade you Nash for JVR. If you could extend Nash, would you be willing to do that? And I think both teams would be willing to do it, because I think the Rangers would take JVR as well and extend him. And
here's an insight into what the Leafs are going to do next year, because this is now the second time, at least they did it in practice today. This is the second time where Matthews has been hurt, and what the first move is not to move Patrick Marleau to the middle like they did earlier. They're moving Nylander to the middle with Connor Brown and Zach Hyman. If you don't think that next year when Tyler Bozak leaves via free agency, that William Nylander is not going to be their number 2 center, I mean, I think that's what it's going to be, because Babcock keeps protesting, no, I don't think he's a center, but he keeps moving him to center. So I continue to think that next year he will be their number 2 center, and Kadri will move down to third line.
This is just into, and this is something we talked about a couple of days ago as well, but it's Greg Cousins is tweeting it out now. Hearing that third teams with cap space are now getting involved in Erik Karlsson trade talks to help facilitate potential trades. Makes sense, especially if Bobby Ryan contract is involved and contenders don't have the room for it. Talked about this a lot, and I think this is very, very possible. I don't think though, and I want to get into Erik Karlsson in a second. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say this. I think this is the first signs, and we've seen a little bit of it with the Duchesne deal, but you're starting to see the NBA type of trade now.
Yeah. And we talked about that when we first started the show.
Yeah, and I think that teams like Arizona,
today, by the way,
teams like Arizona, teams that have cap space, teams like Vegas who are just coming in, but they're, those budget teams, if the cap hit is short, they can be basically used as clearinghouses for some of these deals, and it benefits them because they get assets for it. So I can see somebody facilitating, like I say in Arizona, is part of a 3-way deal involving Erik Karlsson and involving Bobby Ryan. They could trade Bobby Ryan to Arizona. Arizona retains $2 million of the salary and then trades him someplace else, and they get something for him. That's that's the type of deal that's going to start happening in the NHL.
It did happen in Major League Baseball too with Mike Hampton. A bunch of teams ended up paying Mike Hampton that ridiculous contract for Colorado, and that's how you do it. It's true.
Yeah. No, and Arizona has been a wasteland for contracts. I mean, they've done it before, so.
Yep. Yeah, but they've been basically for the Datsuks or the Prongers for a year or two, the Dave Bolins to get up to the cap floor. Now we're talking about like managing long-term type of deals and using their salary retention, because they're never going to be, at least while they're in Arizona, they're never going to be a cap team. They're always going to be a cap floor team. So in a way, it helps them to retain salary on a player who has a long-term. It means them paying less in salary down the road.
Now I'll say this as well: the Karlsson stuff is screwing up everyone. This is what, if I could write a blog title. If I could write a blog title, it just is messing up Mike Green. It's messing up
McDonough.
It's messing up Jarmelson. Jack Johnson's probably going to sign back with Columbus. I mean, because there's really no market beyond that. There's only so many teams will take defensemen. So. Right. I mean, what's happening right now is the Caps would love to get in on Mike Green or Erik Karlsson. I talked to somebody there today. So the Caps would have to trade. They have no cap space whatsoever. So
they would have to trade a player.
They would have to trade a lot of money back, which they might be willing to do. They've got.
Essentially, if they're doing that, they're probably trading John Carlson, right?
Yeah, they're trading go. I would think that's exactly what they're doing, and that they have an inclination there that Carlson doesn't want to stay. If that's the case, and they know, and they probably do already have an inclination on.
I'm sure they have an idea.
Yeah. There hasn't been any talk. There hasn't been any talk, and honestly,
talk really implies he wants out of there.
And honestly, if John Carlson, well, okay, we're talking John Carlson,
but I heard wants to go to the Rangers. And then whenever I hear a player like that, I hear Carlson. Whenever I hear a player wants to go to the Rangers, I just like, okay, he's going to go to the Rangers because the Rangers, they get the players that want to go there.
It's true.
Be ready. John Carlson's going to be a Ranger. Just mark it down now. That's what's happening.
Started with Messier.
Yeah, no, it's been going on. I mean, the list is endless.
Tanner Glass wanted to go to the Rangers too.
Jace, we've been through it before. Brad Richards.
So does Kovalchuk, right?
Kovalchuk, right.
He does. I hope
he would go to the Devils too, though. Kovalchuk. No, he really liked the Devils, but he also loved Lou, so he could go to Toronto. That's possible too. So anyway, there's all different things. And remember that Lou loved Kovalchuk, and that's something important to remember when we talk about it.
Until the end. I think it was good for most of it. I think at the end he didn't so much.
It wasn't his idea to bring him in. It was ownership, but then he grew to like him.
He did, yes.
Well, what's not to like about the guy?
There's a lot. in the locker room,
I don't want to get
a whole can of worms, man.
I'm not going to tell you what I think I know about. I think that
you know what?
We'll not talk about it.
There are some holdouts from Kovalchuk's days in Atlanta here who say really flattering things about the guy.
Oh yeah, no, there's nothing.
Oh, he's a competitor. Don't get me wrong.
And even the media will tell you that he's a good guy. I mean, he's a flat out guy.
But he's a quirky, weird guy that does rub some people the wrong way.
He wanted to go back to New Jersey like a month after he retired. I mean, there was the crazy stuff that went down. That was a mistake right off the bat.
And the thing that's going to mitigate any is with him is the fact that he's 35 years old next year, and that's not a contract you can escape. Or by him going back to Russia or something like that. It's going to be on your books. So
also, one thing about Kovalchuk, then I want to talk about this defense quagmire. Sorry, Dinner. All right, Kovalchuk. If Germany's listening out there, measure his friggin' stick. I'm just telling you, his stick is so illegal, it's insane. I keep every game I watch it, I try to get a screenshot of it. I just not quick enough. I really just measure his stick. I mean, he's got like a banana hook on there. It's ridiculous. Anyway, all right. So moving on. Right now you've got three big guys, right? McDonough, Green, and Carlson. Carlson's not. It's hard to put Carlson into the book. Carlson's more likely to get traded now, like I said yesterday, to a team that's not contending with Bobby Ryan. So maybe that's why like a team like Edmonton, who should be contending but isn't contending, makes sense, right? So that I could see Draisaitl going back in a deal like that, and I don't think that's insane. But
I mean, it's not insane because they're going to have to get somebody. Yeah. It's insane to think that Ottawa will pay that money for Draisaitl. I don't think they would.
Well, Chiarelli came out today in a press conference. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
I was going to say you're paying $14 million right now for Carlson and Bobby Ryan combined.
But you don't want to be. They don't want to.
No, you don't want to be. But what's a better upside?
I mean, Draisaitl, how much more is he than Bobby Ryan? It's just
you get security, right? We all know Melnick is dealed for contracts with security.
Isn't Draisaitl around
8.5? He's $1 million.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
More than Bobby Ryan, though.
Yeah.
So that's a lot
more than Bobby Ryan.
A lot more, right?
Yeah, but at least he's in the lineup. Bobby Ryan's too busy trying to fix his fingers again.
Be nice, Bobby. All right. So anyway, here's
the one thing about Bobby Ryan: King of Pizza is not the best pizza in New Jersey. Stop saying it, Bobby. Thank you.
Does he own stock?
What is with you Americans and your bloody love and competitiveness about pizza?
Shut up, Peter. It's a big deal.
You guys just don't have pizza. You don't understand.
It's just bizarre.
It's not bizarre. It's ingrained.
Shut up, Peter. It's a big deal.
You should know that Johnny's Pizza is the best pizza in Cherry Hill, but that's
bigger than curling.
Sorry, you all
stick to curling.
I talked to Bobby Ryan. He was more of a Vito's guy, but anyway, we won't go there.
People are gonna get pissed off and drop off the show if they keep listening to this.
All right. No. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so I'm trying here. All right, so Carlson. I don't think is going anywhere right now. I really don't. I don't think so. I think this feels like, I love the fact that he's in the conversation because it's, great for ratings, and I think that TSN and Sportsnet know it's great for ratings too. But Carlson's I really don't get the sense that he's going anywhere because there are very few teams that can do it. If they bring Bobby Ryan, a third team in, maybe that makes it easier. But there's something else about Carlson that has been really interesting the last couple of days when I talked to two teams who told me that they didn't know if he fit into their system. And I was kind of surprised by that, because obviously Carlson is what he is, and he's really he's an incredible defenseman, but he also demands the puck a lot. He also has a certain way. He also leads the rushes a lot.
Yeah,
so
he's an sorry.
Now, if you're a team that has other players to lead the rush a lot, and you're successful because there's other players, maybe you don't want this. So this has been going on. So I think that I'm hearing that too, and that's limited the amount of what people are looking towards.
But I think there's one coach in the league that wouldn't want Erik Karlsson, and that's Ken Hitchcock. Other than that, I think everybody would deal with it.
And I also think that that's a tactic to get the price lowered. Oh, well, he may not fit our system, so that the one less prospect we're willing to give up.
The problem is Karlsson has been the system and
right.
Like that's it. So you can't say he won't fit into the system, because that's the only system they have.
You want to know that the perfect comparative is Peyton Manning in football. Peyton Manning, he's the offensive he was the offensive coordinator, which was whatever team he played for. The offensive coordinator in Denver when he was there, he may as well been doing needlepoint in the corner, because Peyton Manning was calling the plays on the field. Erik Karlsson. Yeah, Erik Karlsson's a freelancer. He does, he's instinctive. He does what he is good at. He, and I'm not comparing him to Sergei Gonchar, but Sergei Gonchar was not the typical defenseman. He would always step up in the rush or always do something, and that's what Karlsson's like. Yeah,
but a team, but but a team that already is doing really well and already has a nice thing going on.
Think about this, Eck. I think the same thing would have been said back in the day about Sergei Zubov. Look what he does back there. I think that's why the Rangers ended up dealing him, because he and Leach, there was only so much time to have the puck and be on the ice. But then Zubov went and he fit perfectly into other systems.
Right. No, in other systems, but the point is, and he fits perfectly into Ottawa because he is the system, like you say, right? So in Ottawa, he's perfectly fine. You throw him in Montreal, he would be a killer in Montreal. He would be perfect in Montreal.
Sure.
But there's some situations where, the teams that already are clicking on all cylinders offensively that could be affected by this, that this could change the way they look at the game. And there are, and it shouldn't be that hard to draw who those teams are, but it's like, there's obviously some of those teams are looking for defensemen here. And let's move on to McDonough for a second, because he is a lot more likely to get traded than Karlsson. And there's 3 teams involved, and it's interesting because you're looking at the 3 teams atop the Atlantic. You're looking at basically, a race between, so that they're playing this well. The Rangers are playing this well because they're playing these teams off of each other in this arms race. Boston is still involved, and they might not get him, but they're still involved. Tampa is definitely involved. I think that's where he's going to go. I think I'm almost 100. I would put that at 85.
There was a lot of talk at the rink yesterday for Tampa. Just saying.
Yeah, and I was already guys. I texted you guys in the middle of the game yesterday saying it's Tampa or Toronto, because that's what I was hearing.
Yeah,
and Toronto is still involved. There's no two ways about that. This is the defenseman they would
expect them to be. Yeah,
I think I can see Toronto ending up with Mike Green though, because I think that Jonathan ends up there.
McDonough fits Lou's bill. Yeah, he's an American guy. He played in college in Wisconsin.
Yes,
Lou likes those things.
And he does.
Everything else.
The Leafs will not be trading for rentals, at least not the rental defensive market. They will not give up a first-round pick to a guy who will walk away in July. They would give up a first-round pick in a deal for McDonough, but the impression that I'm getting at is that exactly what New York is trying to do is play one off against the other. And this is Lou we're talking about. Lou, if you're getting that with Lou will basically say, "Enjoy yourself. I'll talk to you in the summer when you're stuck with this guy."
Yeah,
and that's basically what will happen. And they'll pay a certain price. They'll pay fair value. I mean, I've seen it being out there of a first-round pick, an NHL roster player, and maybe an additional either pick or maybe a marginal prospect. And Yzerman came out yesterday or a couple of days ago and said he's not trading anybody off of his roster in a deal. Now that either means he's giving up a first-round pick and a minor leaguer or a prospect for Green, or he's giving up maybe a first-round pick and another top prospect like a Cal Foote or somebody like that for McDonough. But he's not giving up Tyler Johnson. He's not giving up Sergachev. It's not happening.
I think what could happen here, I could be wrong, but the way I'm reading this is I think Yzerman is trying to get McDonough for what he would give up for Green. And I think if the Leafs wanted to, they could swoop in with the best offer and get McDonough.
I agree. And the Tampa's in a good position right now, because I think really, I don't know if there's any other market besides Tampa for Green. I don't think anybody else is anybody else is willing to give up a first-round pick for a flawed defensive player in Mike Green. Whereas I think that there are other teams that would give up what is necessary for McDonough. McDonough is a higher level of defenseman than Mike Green.
and contract security the next year.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I think a lot of the talk about Tampa is very simple. Yzerman's probably out there trying to understand what the market is. So you're going to hear their name up. But I think Yzerman sits there and he goes, I don't have to do any of this.
I think he has to get a defenseman.
He has to get a defenseman.
It's a nice to do. It's a smart to do, but he doesn't have to blow the doors off in a deal.
No.
That's the other thing, right? Like he doesn't have to land a Carlson. He doesn't have to land McDonough. He can find another option.
Yeah, that's always.
It's just nice to talk about them going all in.
But he's got a legitimate 2-year window, and it really does matter. With Kucherov under contract at under $5 million, he's got a 2-year window, which means, and I'm not saying blow the doors off and trade every one of your prospects, because that's stupid. You're going to need those young guys, especially when you're signing other players to big money. But you can dabble and give up 1 or 2 of them to get the right player at the right time. And right now, either McDonough or Green helps them in the short term, because you're not winning a Stanley Cup with Dan Girardi on your second pairing. As a third pairing guy, sure. As a second pairing guy, disaster.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree with that. But remember, we have to remember how Yzerman handled Stamkos, right? Like, I mean, that's the last big thing.
Just imagine this also for a minute, because we haven't seen this with a lot of teams, but a lot of the leadership group for the New York Rangers was McDonough, was Dan Girardi, and Ryan Callahan. They might have all 3 of them. And Palmer was part of that too.
And that is not lost on them. I mean, I talked to somebody down there, and the idea is, that Tampa does feel like, that they need to be better in the playoffs. They feel like, and I mean, not that they've been good in the playoffs. I mean, when they haven't been bad in the playoffs, but bringing in guys like that, I mean, those 3 guys, a big part of what took the Rangers to the Stanley Cup final.
I mean, you compare McDonough and Strawman tomorrow, and they know exactly how to play with each other.
Right, which is wonderful. That also doesn't screw with chemistry, which is usually important at this time of year. There's just too many reasons that Tampa is the leader in this thing.
Yeah, and also like the little moves that they make are done with the foresight of what could happen in the playoffs. They reclaimed Gabriel Dumont, who's a depth guy, probably 13th, 14th forward, but they reclaimed him off of waivers from Ottawa. And the reason they did that is because they could store him in the American Hockey League without having to put him on waivers again. And then in the playoffs, if they run into injuries, if they need a little different thing, they can bring him up, and he's there. He's right there. And they only did that because they can store them down in the American Hockey League and not have to put them on their 23-man roster. They're thinking ahead, and that's why I think Yzerman looks at their defense and says, okay, we've got some young guys, Dachin, Cuckoo, who we don't know whether our coach is going to play him. He's probably going to play Andre Schuster ahead of both of them.
Oh, he's definitely playing Schuster, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody saw the Twitter pictures the other day of the Schuster gash.
Yeah.
But that was amazing. Whoever the trainer is on Tampa, amazing stitch work. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Miles Wood. Oof, boy.
So I just got that call there, and we've been talking about this other thing of the fact that there could be something crazy happening. Like something like just something that no one knows about at all, right? Well, you might know that.
Always is a possibility.
So and usually is. Usually something does happen like that. I mean, it depends how big it is. I mean, how crazy can anything be? With the players. It's not like McDavid's getting traded or anything like that. So we're looking at something like that, but. The person I just talked to there has been trying to make the case for me for like 3 days about Lou Lamoriello, who said, when has ever a trade that Lou's been rumored to be involved in happened? And I said, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like, when have you ever been like Toronto is battling Tampa and Toronto gets it? It never happened in New Jersey. It never happened. This hasn't happened yet in Toronto, where anything's really been predicted. I mean, the closest thing you could say to being predicted was like the goalie they picked up, right? Like the backup goalie, which was like nothing, no big deal earlier.
Yeah, that's fair. I have to go back. I think Larry Brooks has figured out Lou a little bit a few times. I don't know for sure. I can't cite chapter or verse, but I bet you he has.
The first person to get the Kovalchuk trade was Kevin Allen. Yeah. The reason he got it was because of Atlanta. I mean, it had nothing to do with.
Right, and that's the way it's working. It's not coming out of the Leafs. The Leafs are tight as a drum. It's being it's probably being operated on a CIA level. Oh, actually, probably better than CIA.
That being said, the person who just talked to me there said, I don't know this by anything. This is just him trying to think like Lou and how this is not a rumor. He says Lou used to have this thing that if he heard a rumor announced, he wouldn't do the trade in New Jersey. This was classic in New Jersey, and it happened. Like there were times when rumors got out there, and he would call the GM. He's like, I know I didn't put it out there because you put it out there, so it's not happening. So I put this out now with the risk of screwing up the Maple Leafs forever. But I'm saying that. I'm just saying this is speculation only, Lou. We don't know anything. I know nothing at all. This is speculation from a person who knows you, Oliver Ekman Larson. That's his target, and that's the big deal that no one's talking about. That that the Leafs go in, they go after Oliver Ekman Larson when no one's talking about Oliver Ekman Larson, but Phoenix is trying to make all these different kinds of moves. There is logic to that.
Yes, a lot of logic.
From the Leafs end, there's logic to it.
I mean, the only logic
very significant going back.
Yes, the only logic on the Arizona side is that they already know. Remember, his contract is up at the end of 2018-19. That they already know he's told them, "I'm not re-signing with you." If that's the case, if that's the case, go ahead.
If I was the GM, and again, I'm not,
right,
I would let all these other defensemen get traded, and then I would put Ekman Larson on the block at the draft, and I would get more.
Yeah, but then you're subject, Russ, to what those other teams got for those players. Maybe they want more than what the Rangers want for McDonough.
I don't want to put
I don't think so. I think the draft
in the same market, Peter, right?
I think the draft changes everything. Teams have a different vision. They know where they finish. They see where their holes are. Yeah. They start fixing what didn't work from last year. And the draft, Ekin, you've been saying this for a few years. The draft is almost a bigger trade deadline than the deadline now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case. Look, I'll say this again, not to bring it back to the Jets, but it's the same thing. Like, what the number is, and it's the same thing with Jacob Trouba. Not a whisper has been made about what Trouba's what's going on with Trouba here, and that's going to affect exactly nothing. I mean, it is radio silence. And I said to Mike in a DM today, like they said, I talked to someone from one of the beat guys from the Free Press here, and it's like the Jets have gone DEFCON 5 and are hiding in an unknown snowbank. Like no one knows a thing.
Well, what I was told was about the Jets, and this probably makes sense to you too, and it's not much different from what you're saying. It's DEFCON 5, but it is the difference is that the Jets are convinced that they're not worried if they lose somebody for nothing. They are they're going for it right now. That to them, their whole concept is we've never had a really good playoff run, so we're not going to screw with what we've got going. We're a good team.
I get that too. I do.
Yeah. So they need to find out what they have, because that's going to dictate maybe a few RFA decisions coming in the offseason as well, right?
Yeah.
And the only thing that has been out there in recent weeks about Ekman Larson has been a general chatter coming out of Edmonton that's the target for Edmonton to upgrade their defense, is that they want to get in on OEL in the offseason. But
good luck.
Unless they're trading Nugent Hopkins, or unless they're trading Draisaitl.
Here's the thing. I mean, again, let's say Edmonton gets the 3rd overall pick. They might be able to trade that for Ekman Larson.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, you're turn around here and see that, okay, so Toronto, they look at this thing and they're like, okay, if I'm Lou, if I'm getting a really good impression, like, the other people that like from talking to all these people, that Carlson's not going anywhere right now. So Carlson is going to be a draft guy. So you're pitting Larson against Carlson at the draft that way. So honestly, you have a better chance right now with Ekman Larson. Is that me? Sorry.
Yeah, it's not me. Honestly, I think
to finish that thought for a second. So you go get him now. You get your 2 full playoffs runs with him, and you do what your people are talking about with Ekman Larson, and you get him. He plays with the team. There's an emotional thing about going through the playoffs with the team. You go through the playoffs with the team, it becomes easier to sign him. And I think a lot of people are looking at Ekman Larson that way too. I mean, I mean Carlson, but I think that I think Ekman Larson to Toronto. It sounds like the kind of thing that I'm not. Again, it's just speculation, Lou. But it's just.
I honestly think, and that's it's very possible it fits with Lou's MO. That there's no doubt. I honestly think that the fallback. I don't know that
somebody's cell phone is near their computer in some way. So that is.
Yeah,
mine's always near my computer. I never.
Yeah, I think it's me. anyway,
I honestly think that the Leafs fall back if they strike out on McDonough, and I don't know how vehement their interest is, but I'm sure they have interest because he's a good defenseman. But I think their fallback after McDonough is Tanev. They've always been interested in Tanev. Now Tanev is not like a blockbuster deal, so I don't think it would qualify for that deal that we're all waiting for. But I think, and the Canucks are not supposedly really looking to trade him, but they're open to listening, which means they're open to trading him.
Tanev is really risky because he's gonna be a very expensive trade to make.
Yes,
Vancouver's asking for a lot, and you don't know if he's healthy enough to play. So
right.
That to me is I think their backup's Jarmelson. That's what I've said before. I think that gives you at least somebody who you know is going to play,
I agree with that.
Who has experience and who's not going to cost you nearly as much. And you can make that happen. That feels like more of a Lou trade to pick up Jarmelson.
Why don't we switch to the forwards because Nash?
All right, let's talk about Nash too. Nash doesn't. Yeah, real quick. Yeah, we're running out of time. We're out of time, but we'll just real fast. But what I know,
Rangers, former Rangers. Let's talk about them all.
They're all former Rangers. Except for Maroon, he was like a former Flyer, right?
Right.
All right. So Nash. Nash
Let's
doesn't
talk
play
about Tanner Glass, Russ.
Right. Nash doesn't play last night. And I was told during the thing that I should have just put this out there, but I'm like, the second I put this out there, he'll get traded. But I was told his trade wasn't imminent, but he wasn't going to play.
Okay.
Where, we got a much more of an impression that Grabner was more imminent. But the Rangers have a deal in place, which to me means they have someone giving them a first-round draft pick, which is what they wanted. So whether or not they go with that, it's a little risky. They're not going to play him, obviously, because if they got a deal in place, they're not going to play him. Then that makes sense. But I don't where he's going to go. It's not. Everybody keeps talking about Nashville, and my sources are pretty good there, and I've gone through everybody I know there, and they all tell me no. They all say there's no indication right now, at least, that they're interested at all in Rick Nash in Nashville.
Well, and you can take it for what it's worth, but I saw it. I heard it yesterday. Don LaGreca, who's the Rangers play-by-play guy, he was I guess doing the Rangers game yesterday, and he indicated that he had heard Nash was going to Nashville, but he also said that Grabner was going to Toronto, and that didn't end up happening. So you can again take it for what I mean. To me, Nash would be a great fit in Nashville, but it's all dependent on the price. And if Gordon is asking for Tolvanen or he's asking for Fabro, then he's barking up the wrong tree because I don't think Poyle will do that. But
competitors don't like to give up draft picks because this is a team that does need guys on rookie contracts. It's really important.
Right. And both of those guys would be on rookie contracts. Tolvanen was a first-round pick this year, and if he signs, they'll get 3 years of his deal, or at least 2 years of his deal at entry level. And Fabro, I don't even think he hasn't been signed yet. So yeah. But giving up the 28th pick for a chance at winning the Stanley Cup, or a 29th pick, or 30th pick.
Yeah, at some point they did it for Peter Forsberg, so they'll do it again.
Yes.
Yeah, though they could, but I don't get the impression that they're as high on Rick Nash as everybody thinks they are. So I don't know. And Poyle is not active.
If he'd like Rick Nash, I think he'll give you an answer that.
No, he probably would, but I do think that they would find space for JVR. But I think that at the same time,
yesterday
said they wouldn't find space for JVR. Like somebody I talked to there yesterday said, no, he wouldn't be on your top six. So when it's not on your top six, then
that's insane. Because JVR on Nashville, JVR should be playing with Johansson and Forsberg.
Isn't the Mike Fisher deadline Monday too? Whether he signs or doesn't?
He's in. He's going to play by March the 1st.
Okay. Yeah, he's going to sign. So
we can finish out with some questions here if you want to drop.
Real quick, last thing before that, we'll go a little bit longer, just a little bit. Pacioretty. Some more stuff with him too. Played really well again. He's definitely playing inspired hockey right now. I am hearing, suddenly this is like Florida's coming up a lot with Pacioretty, and that this seems like a good idea. Florida really emotional. We didn't even talk about that, but a really crazy emotional beginning last night. And Luongo, who had a child at the high school in Florida, gave an incredible speech, and then went out and played, which was phenomenal. It
was touching.
I couldn't play after that. I can barely do a podcast after I'm, if I'm messed up. I couldn't go play a hockey game. He was really really emotional for him. So he that was something, and it's the kind of thing that it's just Florida's coming, and they have this incredible schedule right now that they're in the middle of an 11 out of 12 at home, with the only away game being in Tampa. So they're like literally, this is a team that has all these games at hand, and they're all these home games. So right now, it makes sense for them to make a move and try to bring some excitement too, as well as selling tickets. You bring Pacioretty in. Remember how many Canadians fans are in Florida? Don't forget that. Like, when you go to a Florida Canadians game, you can't get it. That's like
and Toronto fans, and all of them are down there for spring training right now. So there'll be a lot of snowbirds down there going to games. That's why they have a lot of games in February.
Montreal, I see more in Toronto, in Tampa than I do. And Montreal seems like it's more Miami based, right? So that's like Montreal is definitely there's so many French Canadians there. It's crazy. So I think that if you're selling tickets, Pacioretty makes sense. And it gives you a chance. He gives you some more offense too.
I just don't think he's available. I don't think they're set. I think there's talk about him, but unless they're blown away, I don't think he's going anywhere.
At least not till the fall. At least not till the summer. I think they're gonna try to get more people competing for him. But I honestly I saw Florida earlier this week. They're playing better. I like their talent. If Luongo stays healthy, I think they can make a run, but they need more scoring. They did get for Toronto yesterday, so that helps them out a little bit. But I think they need more than that. Maybe they go out in the rental market. Maybe they're willing to give up a couple draft picks to upgrade. But you're talking for Pacioretty, you're talking major pieces. You're probably talking trading like a Mike Matheson or something like that to get him. Because Montreal wants guys who are NHL capable right now for Pacioretty.
But if I'm Montreal, I would do that.
Now, we have to say this: Montreal is in full freaking tank mode, because not only did Weber's having surgery on his foot, he's out for the season. And I'm not saying all of us. I'm not saying they're faking it, but it's like all of a sudden, Carey Price has a concussion. He's out indefinitely. How much do you want to bet it's Antti Niemi for the remaining 19 or 20 games of the season? This is, they probably won't catch Arizona or Buffalo for their, in the race for Rasmus Dahlin, but they're going to position themselves to get a higher pick. This is good news for Montreal.
It is something for Florida, and this is important because Florida could do with Henrik Borgstrom what the Rangers did with Chris Kreider. If Denver's season ends early, or even when it ends, depending on the timing, he has 39 points in 29 games, 18 goals in 29 games. Like, I'm pretty sure Florida will sign him and try and insert him right away if Denver gets eliminated. So that's something to watch out for, because he's a big centerman, 6'3" center.
Yeah, that's gonna be. So what else do we have before we go?
Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I got asked on Twitter about the draft. I did put up my first draft list in Sportsology. The biggest thing everybody always wants to know, who could play in the NHL next year. I think the top four that I have are possible: Rasmus Dahlin, Brady Tkachuk, Svechnikov at the right team, and Philip Zadina. Beyond that, I don't know, but I think those guys have a chance.
What do we have in the chat room, guys?
Dahlin's is definite. That's all I'll say. Let's
do a couple chat room questions.
Russ, would Ottawa go for this trade? Derek Brassard to Pittsburgh for Connor Sheary, Gustafson, and a 2018 number 1 pick.
I think they would. I don't think Pittsburgh wants to give up Sheary.
Yeah,
he's been too good in the playoffs.
Chris R says Thomas Dundon, the new Canes owner, has stated he wants to change now, with the Hurricanes being just outside of the playoffs once again at the deadline. Do you see them making a change or being a stalemate for yet another season? I think they're gonna try to add, but I don't think
they're gonna add. I don't know if it'll be massive though. That's the thing.
They're definitely one of the top 3 teams in on Nash, I think.
Yeah, I could see it.
You get that impression now. Whether or not Nash would go there or not, I guess is another question. But they are. Because Nash wants to go someplace we can win, but Nash is definitely, they're one of the teams. Another team to watch out for with Nash is Calgary.
Yeah, well, that was the interesting thing I heard yesterday, and a couple, just listening around, that Sam Bennett's name has come up, and I know that you mentioned him for in regards to Boston Act, but they're also saying that he's coming up because they don't have the draft picks and they're looking for a top 6 forward to come back. So, I don't know. I think that would be an overpayment to the Rangers for a rental in Nash, unless they thought they had a chance to re-sign him. Because I think Bennett's a good young player. He just hasn't fit in right now with what Calgary is doing.
To be honest, if I'm the Rangers, I would try and get Jankowski, because He's a big centerman. He's got 18 points, but 11 goals. 6'4" centerman. They could really use that.
Pittsburgh tried to get Jankowski out of them, I heard.
Yeah.
Gannon in the chat room, any updates on Evander Kane? Well, Darren Drager said today, and I find this a little hard to believe, that interest in Kane has only popped up in the last few days. His name has been out there for the last
but it did die for a while.
No, it did die for a while. I mean, I think that I also thought I saw Drager, right? Something that we've talked about too, that the price for Kane has come down in the last couple of weeks, or last week or so, which is probably why the interest is up too. What you're seeing, I mean, you're seeing like the first round draft picks, teams are not just going to throw them out there.
Not in this draft, and not without return. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Kane get a little more than Grabner. I don't think you'll see much more than that.
No, I agree.
And Buffalo may have to eat some salary to do it too.
Yeah, as a long shot for Kane, throw it Tampa. Someone told me to put Tampa in there, and I thought that was pretty interesting because I said, okay, so if this would be Tampa not getting a defenseman, right? This is Tampa does not grab a defenseman, obviously, but they they said that could be possible. I would be really shocked by it, but
look, I could still see the Islanders. I mean, they gave Bailey his extension. They do need more scoring help, but they also need defense. If they can't get defense and they're not going to upgrade in goal, they might get another guy like that. It's possible.
The jokester in the chat.
Islanders are not taking Kane with Ladd on the team.
That's a good point. I forgot about
there
that.
You go.
Kiss it goodbye.
The jokester in the chat, known as Broken Narcissist, asks Brent Seabrook from Nikita Zaitsev ? I'm like, only if Lou Lamoriello has had a stroke. Not happening. Sorry.
That sounds like fishing to me there, bud.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's insane.
Eddie in the chat. If the Leafs trade for OEL, I hope they get rid of Gardner. Well, and this is the thing. I wrote about this yesterday. Any of these moves that the Leafs make regarding if they go for McDonough, if they go for, and I don't think they're going to get Carlson, but I mean, or any of these defensemen who have a year left in their contract. Jake Gardner is an unrestricted free agent at the end of 2018-19. He's having a career high season. He's going to ask for big money. The Leafs are not going to give him big money, especially because they have Travis Dermott, who they like. They have Liljegren, and that's why they're not going to trade these young defensemen who probably will be the ones to step in a year or two to take over for Gardner. And the guy, if they trade for a Tanev or a Yarmulson or a Larson or whoever, there's a better chance they sign those guys to extensions because they won't be able to afford to pay Gardner what he's looking for because his offensive totals will be in the 40 to 50 point range. He's going to go someplace else.
Agreed. Real quick before we go, I do want to throw this out there too. It's another question. Sorry, if there's another question, I'll get that in a second. I can let that go. So it was funny because the other night, we talked about, and I just throw this out there because I've got to get all these Twitter people who keep yelling at me about this. I was kidding. Okay, when I said that I thought the chances of Carlson getting not moved were 50%, were 50-50.
Yeah.
It was a response to Bob McKenzie.
Bob McKenzie, yeah. I mean,
the chances of him getting moved were 50-50. So I said he's not getting moved. The chances of not getting moved are 50-50. And people are like, I can't tell you how many people said that's the same thing as him getting moved. That's the same thing. I don't understand what's going on. And it's just it was and some like this time of year, I usually try not to like get into these things on Twitter, but this time of year I might because I'm a little tired and my my filter's down and I take a lot of crap and I just like sit there and I smile at it. I love when people challenge me. I'm totally fine with that. I've learned that that's a great thing. So, but just it's just funny. Just so
yeah,
funny.
and
I haven't seen Hockey Insider yet. Is he going to come back in the next day or two?
Well, I honestly.
There's no one. It's true. It's been a while. It's actually there's so many people trying to do that now. Every year,
people out there understand. I'm offering analysis to the potential of trades. I'm floating things out there. Mike,
let me
just make this
point.
Sorry. I put something out there about Erik Karlsson and about could the Leafs fit Erik Karlsson in there, and was saying something that they have the guy Brandon Pridham who worked for the NHL, and if there was one team that could find a loophole to fit more cap space, it was the Maple Leafs. And the response I got from people was, "You should be ashamed of yourself for putting out." No, I'm floating a theory. Open your mind, you people. Listen.
No, I know. No, believe me. I love people's passion, so I'm always for this. And I'm a strange person that I actually don't mind being uncomfortable. Like I actually think that it's a challenging thing to a person. So I don't mind if someone says something to me that like actually challenges me, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't want it to be obnoxious, of course, and or to take over our chat or take over our message boards. That's ridiculous. But there's some stuff, on Twitter. If you want to take me to task on Twitter. It's fine. You don't have to follow me. Someone's like, oh, it's like the JVR for Luke Shen trade the other day. Someone brought that up, and I'm like, wow, that's really going far back. I appreciate how long this person has stuck around to mock me. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
And you mentioned
stick around to get that dig in. You got to give him credit. I mean, that's real commitment.
Yeah, and you mentioned JVR for Luke Shen for about a year.
I did. I was all over it, and just because friggin'. I can't say. I can never say. You know what happened, but I can't say it. All right. So, yeah, that means so. Just enjoy yourselves on Twitter. It's fun. This is all just hockey. It's just fun. We're enjoying ourselves. This is a good time.
It's a good time of the year.
It's like things are going to go.
It's not good if you're a player on the move. I get it.
No, and it's not good if you're trying to sleep at all. But besides that, it's it's fun. And Monday night I will trash like no one's business, which is always what happens. The best sleep of my life is always. Starts at 5 o'clock on Monday.
Monday night, I'll be ordering a fine buffalo pizza and watching the Leafs in Tampa Bay.
I know.
You guys and your pizza. My
there you have it.
There's more to cuisine than pizza, people.
No, there's really not, Peter.
It's
not.
There is. There's not. There's steak hoagies and pizza.
Like we don't even talk about poutine the way you guys talk about pizza.
Poutine is gross.
Yeah, I like some poutine, but
poutine is delicious. I'm not like
it's not gross. Mike is wrong about that.
Beaver tails in Ottawa are fantastic. There's certain Canadian food that I just absolutely love. I
like donuts.
I like the wick on steak or steak on wick or whatever it's called in Buffalo.
Beef on whack.
Beef on whack, thank you. Yes. They now sell that at Wegmans near me. I'm like, I got one there. I'm like, yeah, it's a beef on whack. So yeah, that's cool. So anything, we're all good. Montreal is wet meat, right? That's what.
Yeah, Montreal's got some weird stuff.
I don't know if that was a euphemism.
Even their bagels are
try the Montreal. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? But they said yes. That's
smoked meat could be a euphemism.
I don't know. No, I thought the other way.
Time to end it.
Okay,
now without the buzz, it's just hockey.
End it now.
Talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy.